police. You're not allowed to be on this property.
Ma'am, this is my property.
Don't lie to me. People like you don't live in this neighborhood. Put the tools down now.
You really should think before you speak. You call the police, tell them you just threatened the state attorney in his own front yard.
On a brilliant Saturday afternoon in Oakland's Lake Merritt Park, where families gather and the smell of grilled food drifts across manicured lawns, a cell phone camera captured an encounter that would become a flashpoint in America's ongoing conversation about race, public space, and who gets to decide who belongs. A white woman, later identified as Jennifer BBQ Becky Schulte, stood beside a park ranger's vehicle, pointing repeatedly at a black family cooking on a small charcoal grill near the shoreline. She didn't know their names. She didn't know they had a permit. She only saw people she believed didn't belong and called armed enforcement to remove them. But within hours, her 2-hour confrontation with the Smithson family would explode into a viral phenomenon that cost her career, her reputation, and became a case study in how white fragility weaponizes authority against black joy. Because the family she was screaming at wasn't breaking any rules. They had followed every regulation. They had done everything right. Her mistake didn't just expose her prejudice. It ignited a movement. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps bring more truth to light.
The video begins shaky, then steadies. The frame captures Lake Merritt on April 29, 2018. It's 11:47 a.m. Temperature hovering around 68 degrees. The kind of California spring day where people emerge from their homes hungry for sunshine and community. In the lower right quadrant of the frame, the Smithson family. Javon Smithson, 38, a software engineer at a tech startup in San Francisco. His wife, Michelle, 36, a middle school science teacher. Their 2 children, Kayla, 8, and Marcus, 6, playing with a frisbee on the grass nearby. They've claimed a spot near the lake with a clear view of the water. A red and white checkered blanket spreads across the grass. A small Weber charcoal grill sits on the designated concrete pad, one of dozens scattered throughout the park specifically for public use. Smoke rises gently from burgers and hot dogs. This is their monthly ritual, the first family barbecue of the season. In the upper left of the frame, Jennifer Schulte, 43, a pharmaceutical sales representative from the neighboring suburb of Piedmont. White, blonde, wearing yoga pants and a fitted athletic jacket. Her face is tight with what she clearly believes is righteous indignation. She's been standing there for 23 minutes. The confrontation didn't start with the camera rolling. It started 30 minutes earlier, when Jennifer was walking her small white dog along the lake path. She saw the Smithson family setting up their grill. She stopped walking. She stared. Then she approached. According to witnesses who would later give statements, Jennifer's first words were not a polite inquiry. They were an accusation. "You can't use charcoal grills here. This is a non-charcoal area."
Javon looked up from arranging the coals, his face showing the patient exhaustion of someone who'd had this exact conversation before, in different contexts. "Actually, ma'am, we checked the park regulations. Charcoal grills are permitted in this section. We even called the Parks Department yesterday to confirm." Jennifer's jaw tightened. "I've been coming to this park for 15 years. I know the rules." Michelle stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We have the permit information on our phone if you'd like to see it. We're following all posted regulations." This is the moment where most people would apologize, feel embarrassed, and walk away. Jennifer doubled down. "You're making the whole area smoky. You're disturbing other families. This is inappropriate." The camera, being filmed by another park visitor named Caitlin Wu, a 24-year-old grad student who'd been watching the interaction escalate, catches this moment. Caitlin would later say in interviews that something about Jennifer's tone, her body language, the way she was hovering over this black family with aggressive authority, triggered her instinct to document. The video shows Jennifer with her phone pressed to her ear. Her free hand gestures sharply at the Smithson family. Yes, I need someone from Oakland Parks to come immediately. There's a family using an illegal grill and they're refusing to leave. Javon stands up, brushing charcoal dust from his hands. He's 6'2", broad-shouldered, and his mere act of standing seems to make Jennifer step back and speak louder into her phone. "Ma'am," Javon says, his voice carrying the careful modulation of a black man who knows any display of emotion will be weaponized against him. "We're not leaving. We have every right to be here. We have a permit. We paid the reservation fee. We're using a designated grill area." Jennifer's response is caught clearly on camera. People like you always think rules don't apply to them. At this moment, what would you have said to her? I want to hear it. The comment lands like a slap. Michelle's face hardens. Javon's hands curl into fists at his sides, then deliberately relax. Both of them understand exactly what "people like you" means.
Caitlin moves closer, her phone camera now clearly visible. Other park visitors begin to notice the commotion. A small crowd starts to form, not surrounding the family, but creating a loose perimeter of witnesses. Jennifer notices the cameras. Instead of deterring her, it seems to embolden her. She's convinced she's in the right, convinced she's protecting the park, convinced her 15 years of weekend walks give her authority over people who followed every rule. She calls 911. The audio on Caitlin's video captures fragments of the call. "Yes, I'm at Lake Merritt. There's a family having an illegal barbecue. They're using charcoal in a non-charcoal zone. They're being aggressive and refusing to comply." That last part, being aggressive, is demonstrably false. The video shows the Smithson family standing near the grill, not approaching Jennifer, not raising their voices, simply existing in the space they paid to reserve. A park ranger vehicle pulls up. Ranger Michael Torres, a 15-year veteran of Oakland Parks and Recreation, steps out. He's Latino, early 40s, and his body language immediately suggests he's exhausted before this conversation even begins. "What's the problem here?" Torres asks, his voice neutral. Jennifer rushes toward him, her words tumbling over each other. "They're using an illegal charcoal grill. They're creating smoke. They won't leave. I've told them multiple times they're breaking the rules." Torres holds up one hand. "Ma'am, let me check the situation." He walks to the Smithson family. Javon already has his phone out, showing the permit confirmation email and the park map highlighting designated charcoal grill zones. Torres examines it for maybe 15 seconds. Then he turns back to Jennifer. "Ma'am, this family is in compliance with all park regulations. Charcoal grills are permitted in this section. They have a valid reservation. There's no violation here." Jennifer's face flushes red. "That can't be right. I've been coming here for years." "The regulations were updated 3 years ago. Charcoal grills are now allowed in designated zones. This is one of them. These folks have done everything correctly." This is the moment where most people would apologize and leave. Jennifer escalates.
"Then I want to file a formal complaint. They're still creating a disturbance. They're being hostile. I don't feel safe." The video captures Javon's face. He's not angry. He's not surprised. He looks tired. The bone-deep tired of someone who's played this scene 100 times in 100 different contexts. Michelle puts her hand on his arm. The children have stopped playing and moved closer to their parents, confused and frightened by the white woman who won't stop yelling. If you were the Smithson family, would you stay and finish your barbecue or pack up and leave to avoid further confrontation? Torres turns to Jennifer, his voice dropping to a tone that suggests this is his final word on the matter. "Ma'am, there's no complaint to file. They're not violating any regulations. You've been here for," he checks his watch, "over half an hour, arguing about rules that don't exist. I'm asking you to move along and let this family enjoy their afternoon." Jennifer's expression shifts. The righteous indignation hardens into something uglier. "Fine, I'll wait for the police." And she does. For another hour and 47 minutes.
What happens next becomes the surreal heart of the story. Jennifer doesn't leave. She positions herself approximately 20 feet from the Smithson family and waits. She's called 911 3 times now. Each call is logged. Each dispatcher has told her that unless there's an actual emergency or violation, police response will be low priority. But Jennifer waits anyway. The Smithson family faces an impossible choice. They can leave, abandon their permitted space, their paid reservation, their family tradition, and let this woman's harassment succeed, or they can stay and continue their barbecue while a white woman glares at them and multiple cameras document the absurdity of this situation. They choose to stay. Michelle flips the burgers. Javon tends the grill. The children, sensing their parents' tension but trying to maintain normalcy, sit on the blanket coloring with sidewalk chalk. More phones come out. More witnesses start recording. The crowd swells to nearly 30 people, most of them expressing support for the Smithson family, some offering them water and snacks in solidarity. One witness, a white man in his 50s named Robert Chen, approaches Jennifer. "Ma'am, you need to let this go. These people haven't done anything wrong. You are harassing a black family for having a barbecue." Jennifer wheels on him. "This isn't about race. I would do this to anyone breaking the rules." "But they're not breaking the rules," Robert says, his voice rising. "A park ranger already confirmed they're in compliance." "What are you really upset about?" Jennifer's face crumples and hardens simultaneously. She doesn't answer. She just keeps waiting. At 1:34 p.m., 2 hours and 14 minutes after Jennifer first approached the Smithson family, 2 Oakland police officers arrive. Should filing false 911 calls about people following all regulations carry criminal consequences? Drop your answer below.
Officers Denise Ramirez and James Wu step out of their patrol car with the visible demeanor of people who've already been briefed on exactly how ridiculous this call is. Dispatch has logged Jennifer's multiple calls. The Rangers have radioed in their assessment. The officers know before they arrive that there's no violation, no crime, no legitimate reason for their presence. But they're here anyway because Jennifer has weaponized their authority. Officer Ramirez approaches Jennifer first. "Ma'am, you called about an illegal barbecue?" "Yes." Jennifer's voice carries relief and vindication. "They've been here for hours, using a charcoal grill in a prohibited zone, creating smoke, being hostile." Ramirez holds up one hand, cutting her off mid-sentence. "Ma'am, we've already confirmed with Park Services that this family is in compliance with all regulations. They have a valid permit. They're in a designated charcoal grill zone. There's no violation." Jennifer's mouth opens and closes. "But I've been coming here for 15 years. "The regulations changed," Officer Wu interjects, his tone flat and professional, but with an edge of impatience. "You've been told this multiple times by multiple people, including a park ranger. You've made 3 911 calls about a non-emergency situation. Do you understand that's a misuse of emergency services?" The blood drains from Jennifer's face. Around them, phones continue recording. Caitlin's video, which has now been running for over an hour with brief interruptions, captures the moment when Jennifer realizes she's not the hero of this story. Officer Ramirez turns to the Smithson family. "Folks, I apologize for the disruption to your afternoon. You're welcome to continue your barbecue. You haven't done anything wrong." Javon nods slowly. "Thank you, officer. We appreciate that." Ramirez turns back to Jennifer. "Ma'am, you need to leave this area immediately. If you continue to harass this family, we can cite you for disturbing the peace." "Harass?" Jennifer's voice pitches up. "I'm trying to enforce the rules. I'm protecting the pork." "You're harassing a black family having a permitted barbecue," Officer Wu says, no longer maintaining professional neutrality. "And you've wasted 2 hours of Park Services time and police resources because you couldn't accept that you were wrong." Jennifer's face contorts. "This is discrimination. You're taking their side because they're right and you're wrong," Ramirez snaps. "Leave, now, or we'll cite you." Jennifer grabs her dog's leash and storms away, her face red, her hands shaking. She's muttering loud enough for nearby cameras to catch. "This is unbelievable. This is what's wrong with this city. No one follows rules anymore." She doesn't know it yet, but Caitlin's video is already uploading to Twitter with the caption, "White woman calls cops on black family having a legal barbecue at Lake Merritt. This is #BarbecueBecky." Within 3 hours, it will have 400,000 views. Within 24 hours, it will have 12 million.
The internet works fast. By sunset on April 29th, Jennifer Schulte's face is everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, national news websites. The hashtag BBQBecky trends worldwide. Late-night talk shows prepare segments. Memes proliferate faster than Jennifer's employers can draft a response. The video evidence is damning because it's comprehensive. Multiple angles from multiple witnesses show Jennifer approaching unprovoked, the Smithson family calmly explaining their permit, Jennifer refusing to accept the park ranger's confirmation, Jennifer waiting for 2 hours despite being told repeatedly she was wrong, police arriving and immediately siding with the family, Jennifer's complete inability to admit error. The court of public opinion moves swiftly. Commentary pours in from civil rights organizations, cultural critics, everyday people who see themselves in the Smithson family's experience. This is what black families face constantly, scrutinized, questioned, policed for doing everyday activities white families do without a second thought. She couldn't conceive that a black family followed the rules better than she understood them. The entitlement to call armed police on children eating hot dogs because you don't think they belong. Jennifer's employer, a mid-sized pharmaceutical company, issues a statement within 36 hours. "We are aware of the incident involving our employee. We're investigating and will respond appropriately. We do not condone harassment or discrimination in any form." Corporate language. Careful. Non-committal. But the pressure doesn't stop. Customers threaten boycotts. Employees express discomfort working alongside Jennifer. The company's social media accounts are flooded with demands for her termination.
Jennifer tries to defend herself. She releases a statement through a friend's Facebook account. "I was trying to protect the park I've loved for years. I wasn't trying to discriminate against anyone. I would have done the same thing regardless of race. People are taking this out of context and destroying my life over a misunderstanding." The statement backfires spectacularly. You spent 2 hours harassing a family with children. Where's the misunderstanding? Regardless of race is what every racist says right before explaining why they only call cops on black people. You had multiple people tell you they were right and you were wrong, and you still called 911 3 times. That's not concern, that's hatred. Oakland's mayor, Libby Schaaf, weighs in during a press conference about an unrelated issue. A reporter asks about the BBQBecky incident. "What happened to that family is unacceptable," Schaaf says firmly. "Lake Merritt is a public space that belongs to everyone. Weaponizing police against black families doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, following permits, following rules, simply existing, is a manifestation of the bias we're working to eliminate in Oakland." Should footage like this always be made public? Comment below. But this isn't an isolated incident, and the narrator's voice shifts to provide the broader context that explains why #BBQBecky resonated so powerfully. In the 6 months before the Lake Merritt incident, similar viral videos had documented white people calling police on black people for a black real estate investor inspecting a property he owned, a neighbor called police for suspicious activity, a black family using a community pool they had membership to, a white woman demanded to see their access cards, a black college student napping in her own dorm room common room, a white student called police for trespassing, a black child selling water on a sidewalk without a permit, a white woman called police on an 8-year-old, a black family checking out of an Airbnb they'd rented, a white neighbor called police for burglary. The pattern was undeniable. white people wielding police as weapons to remove black people from spaces, public parks, private pools, college dorms, residential neighborhoods based purely
on the assumption that black presence equals criminal activity. Researchers at Stanford University studying these incidents coined a term, participation policing, the act of using law enforcement to police who gets to participate in public life. Dr. Sean Harper, executive director of the USC Race and Equity Center, explained in an interview following the BBQ Becky incident. These aren't isolated acts of individual prejudice. They're manifestations of systemic racism that teaches white people they have the authority to determine who belongs in shared spaces, and they're dangerous because they can escalate to violence. Every call to police on a black person doing nothing illegal is a potential death sentence. The statistics support this. Research from the Cato Institute found that between 2010 and 2016, black Americans were 2.5 times more likely than white Americans to be killed by police, and a significant percentage of those encounters began with calls about non-criminal activity, wellness checks, traffic stops, reports of suspicious behavior that turned out to be everyday life. The Smithson family understood this viscerally. When Jennifer made her first 911 call, Jevin told Michelle, "We stay calm, we stay polite. We don't give them any excuse," because they knew what Jennifer either didn't know or didn't care about. Her phone call could have gotten them killed. Within 1 week of the incident, multiple investigations were underway. Oakland Police Department opened an internal review of Jennifer's 3 911 calls. California law prohibits knowingly filing false reports with law enforcement, and the department needed to determine whether Jennifer's calls met that threshold. The review pulled the dispatch recordings. All 3 calls contained false or misleading information. Call number 1, they're using an illegal grill and refusing to leave. False, the grill was legal and they had no obligation to leave. Call number 2, they're being aggressive and creating a dangerous situation. False, video evidence shows no aggression whatsoever. And call number 3, I need police here immediately. I don't feel safe. Manipulative, Jennifer felt unsaved because she was told she was wrong, not because of any threatening behavior. California Penal Code 148.3 makes it a misdemeanor to falsely report a crime or emergency knowing the report to be false. The penalty can include up to 6 months in jail and a fine of up to $1,000.
But prosecution requires proving Jennifer knew her claims were false. Her defense would likely be, "I genuinely believed they were violating regulations." The fact that a park ranger explicitly told her otherwise would undermine that defense. Oakland City Attorney Barbara Parker reviewed the case and made a calculated decision. Rather than pursue criminal charges that might not stick and would consume significant prosecutorial resources, her office issued Jennifer a formal citation for misuse of emergency services, a lesser infraction carrying a $500 fine and mandatory completion of a community education program. Jennifer's employer made their own calculation. On May 7th, 9 days after the incident, they announced her termination. Quote, "After thorough review, we've determined that Ms. Schulte's actions are incompatible with our company values of inclusion, respect, and community responsibility. Her employment has been terminated effective immediately." Unquote. Jennifer didn't go quietly. Through her attorney, she threatened a wrongful termination lawsuit, claiming she was fired for exercising her rights as a concerned citizen. The company's legal team responded with a detailed documentation package showing customer complaints specifically citing discomfort with her employment, employee complaints about hostile work environment, company policy violations regarding conduct reflecting negatively on the organization, at-will employment status giving them broad discretion. The lawsuit threat evaporated. Jennifer's Homeowners Association in Piedmont also took action. Following complaints from multiple residents and national media attention focusing on their community, the HOA board issued a formal censure and launched an investigation into whether Jennifer's behavior violated community conduct standards. The investigation findings, released publicly due to media pressure, were scathing. Quote, Ms. Schulte's actions demonstrated prejudice, poor judgment, and abuse of emergency services. While this incident occurred outside our community, it reflects on our neighborhood's values and reputation. The board has unanimously voted to place Ms. Schulte on social probation and require completion of implicit bias training." Unquote. Social probation meant Jennifer couldn't participate in community events, use shared amenities, or serve on any HOA committees for 1 year. For a woman who'd built her identity around being an upstanding community member, the public rebuke was devastating. Do you think she should have lost her job for this? Drop your answer in the comments.
2 weeks after the incident, the Smithson family held a press conference at Lake Merritt, in the same spot where they'd been harassed. Javon and Michelle stood at a podium with their attorneys from the ACLU of Northern California. Their children were not present. The family had made a deliberate choice to shield Kayla and Marcus from further media exposure. Javon spoke first, his voice steady but weighted with emotion. "On April 29th, my family went to a public park to have a barbecue. We did everything right. We researched the regulations, we made a reservation, we paid the fee, we brought all required documentation, we chose a designated grill area, we followed every single rule. And we were still treated like criminals. Not because we did anything wrong, but because a woman looked at our black family and decided we didn't belong. She couldn't imagine that we'd followed the rules better than she understood them. She couldn't accept that a park ranger, police officers, and dozens of witnesses all confirmed we were right and she was wrong. She spent 2 hours trying to force us out of a space we had every legal right to occupy. And she weaponized 911 to do it." He paused, his jaw tightening. "People keep asking me, why didn't you just leave? Why stay and deal with her harassment? Because leaving would mean teaching my children that they don't belong in public spaces. That when white people question their right to exist somewhere, the correct response is to shrink, to apologize, to disappear. I will not teach my children that. My son is 6 years old. My daughter is 8. They need to see their father stand firm when someone tries to diminish us. They need to learn that we have rights, that we deserve dignity, and that we don't back down when we've done nothing wrong." Michelle took the microphone next. "I'm a teacher. I spend my days telling young people that the world is getting better, that equality is expanding, that education and kindness will overcome prejudice. And then I spend my Saturday getting harassed at a park barbecue. What happened to us happens to black families constantly. We get followed in stores, we get questioned in our own neighborhoods, we get police called on us for existing. When my daughter asked me why that woman was so angry at us, what was I supposed to say? Some people think our skin color makes us criminals even when we're eating hot dogs? That's a conversation no parent should have to have, but it's one black parents have every single day. Jennifer Schulte lost her job. She paid a fine. She got internet famous for being racist. Good. Maybe that will make the next person think twice before calling 911 on a black family doing nothing wrong."
But accountability for one woman doesn't fix the system that taught her we were threats in the first place. Their attorney, civil rights lawyer James Kwan, spoke last. "The Smithson family has asked me to make clear they're not pursuing civil litigation against Ms. Schulte. They could. They have grounds for harassment claims, emotional distress, violation of civil rights, but they've chosen a different path. They're working with civil rights organizations to develop training programs for parks departments, police, and 911 dispatchers specifically focused on recognizing and de-escalating bias-motivated calls. They're partnering with the ACLU to draft model legislation increasing penalties for false 911 reports that target people based on race. And they're turning their experience into education, speaking to community groups and schools about implicit bias and the real-world consequences of participation policing. Their goal isn't revenge, it's change. What part of the Smithson family's message hits you the hardest? Comment below. The immediate aftermath played out over the following months.
Jennifer Schulte completed her court-mandated community education program, a 16-hour course on implicit bias, cultural competency, and the history of weaponized police calls against Black Americans. According to the program coordinator, she attended but participated minimally, her body language suggesting resentment rather than reflection. She completed her HOA-required training as well, but by September 2018, 5 months after the incident, she listed her Piedmont home for sale. Real estate records show she purchased a property in a smaller town 90 miles north of Oakland shortly after. She attempted to rebuild her career in pharmaceutical sales, but found the Barbecue Becky label followed her. LinkedIn profiles, Google searches, background checks. Prospective employers found the videos, read the articles, and decided the liability outweighed her sales experience. As of 2024, public records suggest she works in an administrative role at a medical clinic, far from the public-facing position she once held. The Smithson family had their own reckoning. They returned to Lake Merritt for barbecues, but Javon installed security cameras at their home after receiving threatening messages from people who believed Jennifer had been treated unfairly. Michelle started carrying mace when she took the kids to the park. The psychological toll was real. Kayla developed anxiety about going to public spaces. Marcus asked his parents if they could just barbecue in the backyard instead. The family sought counseling to process the trauma of being criminalized for doing something completely ordinary.
But they also channeled their experience into activism. They partnered with the ACLU, the NAACP, and local Oakland organizations to create the Living While Black Education Initiative, a program bringing their story and others like it into schools, police academies, and corporate diversity trainings. The video of their harassment became a teaching tool, not for entertainment, but for education. The Oakland Parks Department revised its signage to make grill regulations clearer and more visible. They also implemented new training for rangers, specifically on recognizing and interrupting bias-motivated complaints. Oakland Police Department added a module to dispatcher training on assessing the legitimacy of suspicious activity calls, with specific attention to patterns suggesting racial bias. Dispatchers now ask additional questions when callers report non-criminal behavior and flag repeat callers who demonstrate concerning patterns. And California State Senator Scott Wiener introduced the Karen Act, a caution against racially exploitative non-emergencies, in 2020, making it explicitly illegal to make false racially motivated 911 calls. The legislation was inspired directly by incidents like Barbecue Becky and similar viral confrontations. The bill passed and became law, creating specific legal consequences for weaponizing emergency services based on racial bias. Do you think justice was served? Let me know in the comments.